And I unmuted it and started the recording here, because it wasn't.
No, we didn't want to start until
Are you
it was
saying?
4 o'clock. Would you please pull up a chair, because we're one cozy family here? Thank you.
Did you promise not to hit me again?
Okay, how come nothing is happening there?
I don't know.
What do you want happening up there?
I think we have to
What I
show,
need to do is a couple of things. I need to turn on the camera to see us,
And he needs to zoom in.
and he's not here yet.
that's it, that's it.
So if I go to participants, there, now he just showed up.
Oh, there he is. Hey, Alan.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to quit.
Hi there.
Hey, Alan. All right, we're getting our technology under control. Hello, everybody. Looks like we've got a full contingent. That's great. Yeah, super. Do we have, somebody who will volunteer for the June, to take the June minutes? I've done them for the last 2 months because I felt guilty, but I've done kind of a crummy job, so.
I'll do it.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks,
Deb. Thank you, Deb.
My turn.
Good. Okay, and I did send the minutes out belatedly this morning. Did you have a chance to look at them?
Did you have an agenda too?
Yeah, right there. Yeah, they forgot to put it on the Google Groups, but they did post them and everything, so we're all official.
All compliant.
Can we, any comments on the minutes? Are we good with that? Motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second. Let's do it. Okay, got it, thank you.
Who moved it? Do we need to do a roll call?
Joy.
No,
No.
do we?
I don't know, do we?
I think we're all here.
Deb knows everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start in, public comment. Oh, looks like we have no public. Okay. Pete Critelli has been here for the last 2 months. Where's he? Oh, well, okay. I would have sent him, something, but I didn't have his number. Okay, old business, grants updates, Northwest Energy, we have, this is you, Alan. Grants updates.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so we're talking about for the recycling center and public works. I think Mike Maples probably knows more about that than me. I can tell you that Mike has been working pretty hard on them in the last couple of weeks, so thanks. Yeah.
The applications are in and just, I gotta give them some money. I sent the applications in and forgot to send them their processing fee, which is $400. So I gotta get that paid and then they'll get the ball. The first thing we have to do is get what do they call it, a small generator interconnection agreement done. So,
Okay.
but the application's all in, I just gotta send them the money.
This is very exciting.
I forgot about the money, so I'm glad I came to this meeting.
We're glad you came too. Okay, we do have an update on the MDOT EV Chargers grant. Al and I were both at the Public Works meeting last Tuesday. We had a chance we were invited to, the Red Lodge was invited to reapply for the EV chargers. Those are the ones that remember we talked about at Civic Center. We've been talking about this for, at least a year, maybe 2 years or something like that. But anyway, Public Works, we had to, indicate to, Montana DEQ by July 1 that we were interested and, in applying, and so they would include us in whatever, literature they had. And, Public Works was, reluctant to go there for a couple different reasons. First of all, there's a turnaround of July 1, and this was news to most of the Public Works people. Well, it's not news to us because we've been living and breathing this, it was news to most of them. And so they were reluctant to do that. There was also a $27,000 match from the city, which you know, is substantial, you know, and that was,
And there's really not a good budget to pull it out of.
Yeah.
Right.
Public Works. I
right,
mean, it's
so.
not-
And then the third thing was, the Civic Center. Well, I know, we've been talking about this for a long time, but really, honestly, it's been, I don't know why the school is interested, but anyway, it's gonna be paved at some point.
At some point, they're gonna try and budget for it, a total tear out and redo of that parking lot,
Who is?
the school.
Really?
John Fitzgerald.
I hope
And
that
he realizes that's our land in there, right?
He should.
Yeah, no, he
in
did.
fact, 10 feet of their building is on our land, but.
He called me up.
permeable pavement, please, permeable pavement, can we do that?
Well, we could try.
When we get there, we'll look into it, but
Okay.
there's a lot, that's gonna be a very big project, cause
Yeah.
there's still railroad tracks underneath there.
Yeah, I can see drains
Oh.
in it far more likely than permeable.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Um, but
And
he
then
he called me up, cause he wanted to just patch those potholes down there, and he
Yeah.
said, look, I've got a guy in town that's doing asphalt work, we've got some extra money, do you mind if we pave those big potholes in? He said, because I know it's on city property, and I said, I don't have a problem with that.
Right, I
And then
noticed that,
we met down there and
right.
looked at it, and that's when he talked about the school
Carry
doing a
on.
project to fix
Huh.
it properly.
And
he's
that's
aware.
because they have school buses in there, or?
I don't know
They have
why.
a
Do
lot of events, a
yeah.
lot of events
I
there.
didn't-
Yeah,
I didn't
you know,
I just-
Well, that's great, that's great.
yeah.
There was one other thing that you didn't mention, and I was thinking it was gonna be the third, but you said three.
Is there a fourth?
So, when it comes to these EV stations,
Yeah.
one of the things that comes up considerably is who's using them and what are they paying for. So
Right.
what that boils down to is the city coming up with $27,000, so certain people in town with certain vehicles can have free driving, and that doesn't communicate well. So if, that's probably a worthwhile conversation to, do we charge for those? I have no problem with making them available. But the observation, which I don't think is wrong, is that there's a lot of 10 plates is the technical terminology. If you go by and look at who's plugged into those, it's 10 plates. So that's one thing, but then when you say, let's spend $27,000 of taxpayer money so that different templates can plug in and charge their vehicle, that's just a conversation. You gotta figure out what the right answer to that conversation is, or how to change that conversation before we can go there.
Yes, absolutely, and if any more, EV chargers are in place, like if we have to replace any of those, I think over by the library and stuff, and Arts Guild, I definitely think the technology is here, we should, you know, people can put in a credit card, I mean, that's the standard now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not the
That cost-
standard
Right.
4 or 5 years ago when these were put in.
And when those were put in, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was all grant money, correct? There wasn't matches from
No,
the
it
city
was
or
all,
anything?
it was all grant money.
Yeah.
All grant
So, again, that's one of those things to me where it's, I have less heartburn about getting people to use them, especially locals. I don't mind that as much. Like, good for you for doing it, like, using an electric car, that's great. But,
So what budget to come out of?
and that, again, that's,
Right now,
that's the
right now,
issue.
it's getting paid out of lights.
Yeah,
I don't
and,
know why, I mean, how did our auditor miss that? That's not lights.
No.
there's a light on it, right? No.
I'm saying, you know,
But,
it doesn't fit into any budget that the city
Yeah.
has.
and so, and that's, I think, of all the things that were brought up during that, from someone who's on the Public Works Committee or standing committee, the biggest one for me was that $27,000 match.
Yeah.
And-
Oh, yeah.
And not knowing where that's gonna come from, and we're currently going into the budget season and trying to figure all that out, and knowing that we're already looking at, like, shortages and pitfalls, to try and add another one just seems very,
Wrong.
yeah, it just seems very difficult to try and do.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
and
it's a great
especially when
idea,
it's-
you know, something that we can.
Yeah, well, and I know
About-
that the Resort Tax Committee is gonna be putting a survey out on projects that people want funded with resort tax dollars.
Yep.
So if that is something that we wanna put, you know,
Yeah.
get listed on that, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that'd be really good to just have a whole,
Yeah.
like, sustainability
Oh.
section in there,
Yeah,
'cause I think that people would wanna fund that.
And then, but then the second part of it is, and I understand that it has since been determined that the rumor that we were paying for Wi-Fi because the solar panels at the pool didn't work without Wi-Fi has been
Yeah, I think that's defunct.
debunked, but what we don't wanna do, going back to we have people put the card in, we don't wanna spend more for the card collecting system than what we were spending in free electricity,
Yeah.
so.
And that's a real possibility.
And that's something else
Yeah.
I can help with too. So there's a company called ChargePoint. They actually make the EV chargers that have the acceptors and all of that stuff. And so, if we need connections on that, I work for US Bank, and so the Voyager fuel card is a product I market. And so we work with ChargePoint on those on the acceptance and stuff. And so to your point about cost and those types of things, that sort of stuff gets sort of baked into like just it's part of the purchase of the actual unit at this
Right,
juncture. They're not separate. And then whoever your banking provider is, you figure, like, that just becomes part of that.
And it's just weird to me when people point out these templates, because I know lots of people who have electric cars, and the first thing you do is you install an outlet at your house or your shop where you work and everything.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine not having one and not having a charger for it, but it doesn't fall to the city
Oh, exactly.
to fix that problem. Especially if it was all a grant, that's one thing, but come up with $27,000. If we're doing it for customers to come or visitors to come and using it, that's where the argument is.
So,
Anyway.
Well,
Okay. Anyway, it was a good idea,
We're
but
not giving up.
not yet.
We're not solving those problems between now and July 1st.
No,
Yeah.
not yet.
I think we did figure out how to fix the one that's broke down there though.
Oh, good.
Pretty
Yeah.
reasonably, I think. Last time the little charging port broke, they bought the whole unit. And I watched a video on how to put the thing on. Alan said he'd pay for it, so we're gonna try that.
Absolutely. I would
We're
love
gonna try the
to participate.
$79 fix first,
Oh, yay.
Yeah.
Why not?
before the rip and replace.
Right, why not?
And so hopefully that'll happen in the next week or two.
Okay,
Great.
Strong work, Mike.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a link and you can just order it, have it shipped to here.
Sounds good.
perfect.
Thanks, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Again.
Okay, we're moving on. We've got a reusable bag, committee report. What's going on?
Well, we still have 2 boxes of bags that, to distribute, through the food bank or, out at the recycling center. I did talk with, Ryan at Republic, because he said he had bags that, they could just give us. And so I called him today and he said, yeah, we have bags. And I said, and they're the shopping type bags with the square bottom, yeah. And I said, well, what we'd like to do is, have a table at IGA and just, give them out. And if that's okay with you, we don't have to have an event. And he said, yeah, that would be fine. Then he said, let me see how many I have and I'll call you back. And I haven't heard from him, so.
Okay.
But
Super.
I was thinking, like they have the table for raffles and stuff, if
Sure.
we could just set up there in front of the red box and, give people these bags as they're leaving the store.
Or
Going in the
or
store.
entering, yeah.
I see more and more, it's anecdotal, but I see more and more people bringing bags in.
Oh, I do too.
So it's really good, I think, just incrementally.
Yep.
We're getting there.
Yep.
And downtown, I've seen a lot of the, the beautiful red Lodge bags you can buy from Chamber of Commerce. I've seen a lot of those
Oh,
around.
good,
Yeah.
good. And we still have the
That's
little
okay.
bags to give out, which we'll also do,
What little ones?
the little stuffed
Little
bags.
bear and.
Oh, okay, we do.
Yeah, well, there's somewhere,
I have some upstairs.
Okay.
there's somewhere in City Hall.
Keep hoarding them.
We didn't give them all out, so we will do that.
Okay.
Also,
Sounds good.
it's just great to keep one on you, and when you go into
I
a
was just
store.
gonna start giving one to everybody who shows up meeting every week. I'll just give you one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's-
Yeah.
Move along.
At least 2 volunteers on, committee.
honestly,
Or
Fourth of
board.
July parade, really easy to check those. Just do it at
Yeah.
the Fourth of July parade.
You'd be out by the end
Oh.
of the first block. I'm just saying.
You want a block.
Okay, we just wanna get them out there, so.
Okay,
Anyway, that's
Thank
our
you.
report.
that's perfect.
We're working on it.
Has anybody
Can-
worked with the company that works with the grocery store? The ones that the grocery store has given out is normally somebody who calls and gets a dozen different, looking around to see if anybody has their one here. Sponsors that are on it, and then they sell it, and that's a company that reaches out, and I'm sure Sean could put them in touch with whoever that is. I probably have it in my email to find it, but
They reached out to us about sponsoring. We just didn't have, because it was fairly expensive to sponsor. I mean, at the time, it was also like right at the shoulder season, and they called, I'm like, I wish I could give you $500 right now, but I'd rather
Well, I
pay my
will
employees.
say that the bag I have, I've had to put duct tape on the bottom because it got a big rip, and then I've had to staple the seams back. So, just saying, we want to make sure it's a good product.
I have that information if somebody wants to call them. Somebody got a number ready?
And tell them about,
No, this is,
the rip
his name was
bag and
Jesse,
the
because,
seams that-
so this was on January 11th, just where it fits into the things. His name is Jesse, and his number is 406-831-5160, and it's actually the Mark Group, and he's extension 1971. But he called up, when he left a message, he said Jesse with IGA, and it just had that voicemail, had that sound like social engineering, and I called up Sean, and I said, do you have a Jesse? And he said, no. And then I spent a little time putting it, it's called the Mark Group. They supplied 2,500 bags last year.
But you have to have a,
Sean would do that, wouldn't he?
Sean
would do
worked
No,
with them.
yeah, so Sean is,
Yeah.
except he doesn't, he just is the dispersion group for them.
Yeah.
So, but Chamber has said no when I call and talk to Sherry. And her reason is their dollars go to outside their dollars go to getting people into town. And the sponsors that we were going for on these bags are kind of in-town stuff, so it's just two different audiences.
okay. Well, make a note.
And if you want, since I know who that is too, that's, tell me your name again, Mary, what's your email?
Me?
Yeah,
MDG,
MDG,
Merle, M-E-R-L.
So we would have to buy those bags, is that right?
no, it's sponsors buy them, they put
Oh,
together
right,
sponsors, but
right.
if you guys can find sponsors, then, so
We'd
MDG
have to
Earl,
find the sponsors,
Yeah.
they put it together.
yeah, MDG Earl,
Merle, M-E-R-L.
Possible.
Yeah, yeah. that
MDG
is
Merle.
Merle at Gmail.
That we would do that, like. with-
How come I don't already have emails from you?
Right. Well, you do. Maybe it's
If
because
you
I have
find it, did
two.
I spell it correctly?
Two. Oh, M-E-R-L.
I'm just gonna forward you the information so you have everything.
Okay.
Now, is it correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Alan, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
A little bit of perspective on down here in Denver, our experience with the change in everyone's habits to using reusable bags. That happened, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or so. And plastic single-use bags were not made illegal, but it was required that stores charge a 10-cent fee for any bag. So it was very much sort of a, we're not forcing you to make this change type of thing, but clearly you're incentivized. Not that 10 cents is a lot, but it kind of sticks in your craw. Anyway, and so digging a little bit deeper, it's interesting. It does create quite a bit of revenue. And the way that it's happening down here is a 60-40 split, where 40% of the revenue gained from charging this mandatory 10 cents per plastic bag fee stays with the business that sells it. And then 60% goes to the government, the city government, or I'm actually not sure if it's a statewide thing. But anyway, it produces a good bit of revenue in addition to incentivizing people, shoppers, to change their habits and decrease the amount of plastic which is out there causing microplastics, et cetera. Anyway, as it turned out, because of the economics of it, pretty much all you businesses were unanimously in favor of such a rule because it saves them a ton of money. I think probably, yeah. And so the group, if this were, something like this were to be considered, probably the people to get buy-in from would be shoppers. And the people that might be negatively impacted by it the most would probably be, you know, lower income people for whom 10 cents is not exactly an insignificant amount of, you know, their weekly grocery bill or whatnot. And so we were brainstorming maybe about a month ago on some email chain among some of us here that, you know, a significant revenue raise, I think we penciled it out as something like $10,000 per year of the city's 60% split if they were to go down this model, could, you know, in theory be used to fund something like Beartooth Cupboard or other, you know, food assistance programs for low-income people in our community. And so that just sounded like an interesting thing with potential upside in a couple of different facets. And so just wanted to kind of throw that out there, maybe something for people to think about and maybe discuss at another time, but that is one possible.
So Alan, was this was every business, or was it mostly grocery stores, or, you know, big chains, or who was, and it was city by city?
I might be wrong, it might be statewide now, but it was originally just a Denver thing, and it applied to all stores. Obviously, the ones that are most impacted were the grocery stores, the ones that go through tens of thousands of bags per month and spend a ginormous amount of money to do so. But yeah, I believe it applied to all stores. Let's see, there were plenty of well thought out sort of exceptions which seem fair in retrospect. Like, for example, you would be grandfathered in if you already, as a business owner, had already plunked down a bunch of money to buy a bunch of bags and you had them in stock. So it wouldn't apply until you used up your pre-existing supply. And there were a couple of other things, but yeah, we would not, as Red Lodge, we would not be the first ones to kind of think through some of the thornier issues that might be hard to anticipate the unexpected consequences of such a rule.
Well,
Well, all food for thought.
Yeah.
All food for thought, and, you know, we're gonna ease into this. And, I think we set the stage, you know, last year when we started with the posters and the bags, and it's not like we started this. This was started well before us.
Yeah.
So I think this is a mindset for, our consumers.
Oh, and
So,
and a couple of places in Scotland, you had to rent the shopping cart.
Yeah.
If you wanted to take it around the store, you had to pay a quarter.
that's like Aldi's,
Yeah.
Aldi's, 25 cents. I think you get your 25 cents back.
Yeah, you did when you return the cart.
Right.
So it's their way of making sure
Oh.
carts don't go missing.
If a homeless person is gonna spend 25 cents for a house, yeah, they would.
Right?
Anyway.
Anyway, that, from a legal perspective, that's a council, because that's a legislative thing,
Right,
so.
right, exactly, yep. So it's food for thought.
Okay, let's move on, Arbor Day review, yay.
Yay.
Thank you, and I apologize, I had intended to have a letter out by 6 o'clock this morning telling you all thank you, and a separate letter to Mike and his team for thank you. Guys, it was fantastic, it was wonderful. The feedback that I got, I reached out to Sarah yesterday afternoon, and it was good. There was like less than a half a dozen trees that were still left there. And I said, are the Arbor Day folks happy? And she said they're thrilled, and so that's
You mean
when,
the private trees?
yeah.
Oh, good.
So there were enough, and it's
We
all,
have 6 big ones that we're gonna plant.
Right.
We're gonna use equipment, and I want
yeah, so there's
equipment and volunteers.
Just fruit
Yeah.
trees.
some
yeah.
honeysuckles, this I think was pretty much what was left, was only like one type of tree. It was so it all went, but they,
Good.
nobody got hurt.
Right.
Everybody that was involved looked like they were having a good time. The pre-dig, from Public Works was
Yeah.
Wonderful.
night and day difference. That was,
No,
somebody
yeah.
said that's half the work, and I said, or 85.
Yeah.
That was, so thank you. I will say from my position, thank you to all of you who did that. And the people who fronted the money, all indications were that they were absolutely thrilled with it as well.
So Mike.
And call out to Alan, thank you.
Alan, thank
Oh,
you,
yeah.
yes.
That was, we learned some lessons along that, but ultimately, it's here, it's done, it was a success, and thank you.
Yeah.
Mike, what did you think?
I thought it was good. There was, our plan was to try and get everything to the whole early Saturday morning, and I think we did a pretty good job
Yeah,
with that.
we did.
And it went good. I went back, I left about 11, because we had a sewer problem, and I came back and watered, and there's a few trees that haven't had their water bags filled yet, half a dozen, so we're gonna catch them tomorrow.
And that's the municipality, that's the city public works that's going around and filling all those bags from the tank?
Well, for the first run we are, and I put a tank on, that old truck that we
Yeah.
don't use much, and it's gonna stay that way all summer. We put a little pump on it, and, I'm hoping that, like, during the hot months of July and August, I can get like 2 responsible, dedicated volunteers, have them sign some paperwork so they're legal to drive it, and they can just go around. It takes about 5 minutes to fill a bag.
So that was my question, you said the first pass, and I got a little bit nervous. So what you were really saying is, we have the equipment available, what we're looking for is volunteers, so
Yeah,
that
I
it
think-
doesn't have to be Public Works who's doing that.
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna take some time if you do, it's,
42 trees.
yeah, and it's gonna take longer than that, 'cause you're gonna be driving around.
And would this be weekly? I mean,
No, I think Mike said, because we got the Magnum bags, I think he said, he thought, well, when taught, probably once a week.
okay.
But he thought it's every 2 weeks we could get by.
Oh,
And I thought it was at least a couple of times a week initially when he was doing the plants, but
I
they may
think
have been
that's
a
what
smaller
Mike
bag.
said, a couple
Yeah,
times
but
and
when
then
he
really
saw
hot.
the bags I got, he
Yeah.
was like, oh no,
Okay.
we're gonna be good with these.
okay.
Good,
They're double the size of the old ones.
perfect.
Yes, we know
And I just-
people that can.
I didn't know what I was ordering, so
Do
I
we
just
need-
ordered the biggest.
Do we need to advertise for volunteers from
Oh, I
a
think-
council meeting, or how do we wanna do it?
I think Roger said he'd do some, I think Rod said he'd do some.
And me
I
too,
think
sign me
Alex-
up.
Yeah.
The hose doesn't reach from Denver.
I think we'll start with that, and then kind of just, if we need other people, we can kind of beat up.
Yeah, a call out, if I'm around.
And holler to me too. Let's,
Yeah.
our rule is that all 42 of those trees are still here in 2 years. So
Yeah.
whatever we need to do to make that happen, including having the aliens pull one out and put another one in its place. All 42 of those trees will still be good tomorrow, or
Right.
2 years.
Right.
Oh, can I say something about this?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not a town to rest on our laurels, and so it seems like this went pretty well, and I would want to bring up the idea for you guys to think about and maybe give some feedback or whatever, is should we try to do such an event next year or other years in the future? And digging just a little bit deeper in this, it seems that what we need is a new tree inventory, which is just what it sounds like. This is probably more of a Parks Board meeting, but it'd be great to bring it up here briefly, which is basically something like a $10,000 to $15,000 project, which we've done twice before, in 2008 and most recently in 2017. And basically people go around the city and document what we have, of what size, of what species. And there are some sort of no-brainer conclusions, like don't plant any more of this species because there's too many and they might all get attacked by the same, parasite or disease or whatever. And so I was talking with Arbor Day Foundation, Shannon, who's just very nice and just seems like a wonderful person, and to ask her if funding for a tree inventory would be a possibility, and she thought it might be, and that it would be something that we could talk about more, possibly wrapped up with a larger grant request from Arbor Day Foundation to plant some more trees in June. And just a big picture, mid-January is the early bird deadline to get priority if we are able to submit such an application to Arbor Day Foundation. So I just want to throw that out there and see if there is any support. I would be happy to work on this and come up with some more conclusive information as to whether we could apply with decent likelihood of success of getting that updated tree inventory and possibly more trees paid for about a year from now.
Thanks, Alan, that's awesome. I think, Mary Dale, why don't you take that to the Parks Board
Okay,
and see what they think about that?
all right.
You remember this event, the Arbor Day event was in lieu of Earth Day.
Mhm.
And so if we're moving more towards Arbor Day, which makes more sense because it's, you know, the weather's better and, you know, everybody likes trees. And, so anyway, why don't you take that to the Parks Board and get back to us, and Alan will get back to you about, further, Arbor Day grant on this, okay?
So it doesn't require another flood to qualify.
Yeah.
I would question the 2017 one. Corey and I were actually both on city council, and that came through before. I can see where the numbers would be updated, but I would think that that's not hugely outdated yet. I would think that same trees that grow and don't grow, or I would think it would be a somewhat minor update, but I'm not a tree inventory
person, so I don't have any, I'd have to look at it, but I remember it was.
And I remember that I actually read the whole thing from cover to cover, I'm just saying.
So, we did have the gal from the Billings Arboretum come to the Arbor Day event, and she was just over the moon about it. She thought it was great, and, I mean, that might be something that would be in her wheelhouse, perhaps, like, get a volunteer.
Even she just told us.
Yes, she gave it ours, yeah, same tree.
And by the way, they dropped off an envelope for the city to join. It was called the Montana, was it McFoo? Anybody remember? Yeah, it was a questionable T-shirt, but I think it was I should have brought that, I apologize for not, but it's to be like a membership sort of a thing. It was like $400, and I couldn't find any indication that we'd ever been part of it before, and I don't know. But let me rephrase it, who in this group can I hand that out to research and come back with a recommendation? Can I just give it to you? Corey?
No, what about, I remember we were a tree city for years.
That's Arbor.
Is that what that, is that something
That's an
different?
yeah, this was
got
in
it.
Montana.
Yeah, I got a picture of their shirt.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time, it looks like MUCFA.
Mukfa.
And what, is it the Arbor?
What is
Arboretum?
that?
I have no idea what that is.
Does it say on there, on his
It's
T-shirt?
real blurry. I'm doing my best.
I have that same picture for the same reason, just for the record.
Oh, no, I was just taking a picture of everybody, but, let's see.
Well, the DNRC is probably who did the inventory in 2017. Who did it for you?
I think it was done by, internist from,
Yeah, from the,
AmeriCorps.
yep.
The Energy Corps people. I think
Oh.
that's
Yeah,
how that was done.
I think the urban forestry people in DNRC kind of oversee that whole program, and they have the
Yeah.
website and everything, and they,
Yeah, I think that's what this is,
They
the
also-
Montana Urban and Community
they also
Forestry
give out
Association.
grants. for-
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, good to know.
Say that again, Chelsea?
MUCFA.com.
Yep, Montana Urban and Community Forestry Association.
How fun. Good for us.
Well, us isn't there yet, he just handed me an envelope and it was sealed and it was, please include a check and join our organization, and
But, you know, just that we have it is a good thing. Montana, I
What
mean.
it does.
Yeah,
Conservation forestry?
I think it's
Urban
conservation,
community
or, I thought it was
Community.
community.
Urban and
Community,
community
that makes
forestry.
more sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to the website to see if it'll answer, but it's being really slow.
Forestry Association.
Okay.
But Mike, you were also saying that the DNRC,
DNRC, they have
That
a
makes sense.
whole wing of urban forestry.
That would be wonderful.
And they have grants, they're not, you know, I think the biggest one I ever remember seeing them, that we got was like $7,000 or $8,000, but it could be used.
That ought to be enough to
Yeah.
update it.
Yeah. Well, we have 42 new trees to put in, so.
okay. Well, a couple things, well, maybe Alan could look at the DNRC, website and find out about urban forestry
Yeah.
grants.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Actually,
inventory.
I did. Yeah, just before this meeting, I sent off an email to Jamie Kirby, who is at the Montana DNRC, and long story short, yeah, they do still have such a program for this year. The deadline's already come and gone. I think it was back in February, but obviously looking forward to next year. Because, according to their map, Red Lodge is entirely within a low-income or disadvantaged community, we would have zero copay. So that could definitely be an option if we find out before then that Arbor Day Foundation would not be willing or able to. Then yes, it does sound like DNRC would with no copay potentially. So yes, definitely another possibility.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So where are we at with MUCFA and joining that, and why would we want to do that? Why is that?
So a community is $100 a year is what the 24-hour membership is. And by the way, despite your t-shirt saying .com,
.net.
it is a .net. If somebody, like I said, you tell me who to give this to, and I will look forward to hearing whether we should or shouldn't.
I'll be happy to research, I'd research it.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Okay. All right, we're gonna move on, guys. We're gonna move on to recycling center. We haven't had Ryan here for the last, several months. It might be
Okay.
time
Gotcha.
for, him to show up again, but he did give us, I think this was passed out at a Public Works meeting. Yeah, it was at a Public Works meeting, and this is a really interesting kind of FYI chart of,
That was just, I just took 2023 as a
Right.
basis for budgeting to see what we were,
Looking at
what reality looked like.
right. Alan, I only have a hard copy.
You sent it to us though, electronically.
Did I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, never mind. Good for me.
So you should have it.
Well, now you have a hard
This is
copy
helpful
too.
though. Yeah.
Now you have a hard copy too, but I think this is interesting. I think a contract, and as kind of a segue, the contract with Republic is due in, is it 2025 or 24? 25, next year. I
Next
think.
year.
Right, and so, I think we should kind of keep an eye on this. As I recall, and this is a segue into number 5, review of continuing projects for the fiscal year, which is next on our agenda. You know, I think everybody talked about recycling. You know, we wanted to take a look at the recycling center, make sure that, you know, it's supported and continues, unless, of course, we get one bin recycling, which is a long shot. But anyway, so, this is just food for thought. I don't really know what to do with this at this point unless somebody else has a good idea.
So we're in the red, almost a little over 27,000.
Yeah, that's just that's the cost of getting rid of the recycling. So just in the actual, with our vendors, it doesn't cover the labor down there or any of the.
That doesn't that's not personnel costs or anything.
That's just we're paying vendors to take it.
Okay. So I would assume that we're further in the red in the hole with, paying personnel and.
Yeah, but I think we're budgeted for about 109,000 for the recycling center, and there's not a lot of wiggle room in that budget.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to see how this year plays out. Because it'll be, if I understand right, it'll be kind of the first, when did the city take it over? About like a year ago?
On July 1st.
So, but based on that and looking at what our salaries are and what building costs are and blah, 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 it looks like we're gonna squeak by at 109.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But we're not there yet, so
So we just need more people to recycle.
No.
Then it'd actually be more expensive, we need more people to pay.
Yeah.
Everybody is paying is the problem, so.
Yeah.
We're getting $6 a month.
Right.
That's what.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would get us deeper in the hole if more people recycled.
Yeah, so really.
I mean, I think
it was
And
the-
people are
the-
probably going to start using it more and more as they,
The
like,
best
become
way
more
to-
aware of it, and it becomes more
Yeah.
routine.
So I think the question then becomes, how do we make our recycling program more sustainable? I mean, in all reality, like, how do we make it more efficient? Where are the areas where, I mean, if these are what the costs are, and if we know things are gonna go up because people are moving here, people are using it, and we want people to use the recycling, then how do we contain those?
I think we try and get a decent price out of Republic and see if people pay for it and do curbside,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And Ryan's talked about that, but I think he would not want it to
Yeah.
be,
A remote site.
this one does, that one does it, this one does, he wants,
Yeah, it has to
he
be the
wants the whole
whole-
town.
Collective.
Oh, yeah.
So the recycling,
Yeah.
he would like to see Republic take over the recycling, and there would be no
He
recycling
definitely entertain a
center.
conversation about it, I know
Ah.
that.
I know that too.
But, like, he has said to me that he wouldn't look at it as a piecemeal thing, because it won't, they'll lose money that way. It has to be all or nothing.
And then would that just be part of, a resident's, garbage bill? I mean, it would
Yeah,
include-
basically the
Yeah.
same way we're doing it now.
Use
But-
that dumpster.
But instead of paying, what is it,
$6.
$30-something dollars a month?
I thought it was 27.
Oh, are we talking about trash?
Yeah, trash is
27,
27.
recycling 6.
Yeah, so you're, I don't know what that number changed to, but 27 is gonna go
Well, yeah.
way
It
up.
ain't gonna go down.
Well, it's gonna go, if you're gonna add curbside recycling, it might double.
And we're already
It's gonna be
adding
a lot more.
fees, like, that's,
But we can take the $6 off then.
Yeah.
And we can stop.
Well, my
all that.
concern on the $6 is when this was passed last year, what it was passed with, and I wasn't part of that, that was the council at the time, is they passed it with the $6, and they basically said, we're gonna reevaluate it to see if it's cost feasible, or if we're losing money, because we're not gonna go more than $6. And what I'm hearing is, we're 27,000 over, so in order for a recycling
No, we're
program,
not,
what we
that's
need
not
to do,
over right there,
Okay.
that's just
the cost
the
of it.
cost.
cost,
Okay.
but we have.
So in order for a recycling program to be sustainable, we need to keep it exactly like as it is now, with exactly the same number of people paying for it, and we need to get some of those to stop recycling. And then it'll be cost effective going
Well,
forward.
Well,
I
And
think,
that's the problem with that
No!
explanation.
I think,
No, you see what the problem with that is.
No, I know, yes, exactly.
We're sending
I
less,
think we're gonna make it on our $6.
we're
without-
sending less
without
solid
going over
waste
budget.
that need for Republic to pick up, so there's
No,
where
because we calculated up front, so that, what we pay doesn't change an iota one way or the other.
Public. Well, if
Yeah,
we
don't pay
could,
anything on our garbage, we
No.
pay per container.
so if we look at glass, if we were able to find a grant to have the, you know,
A glass
yeah,
crusher,
Right.
which would be
take
awesome
that glass
here.
crusher and do it on site.
Mhm.
Or, who else recycles glass? No one.
No one.
No
Well,
one.
the idea of the glass
That's my
crusher too could
power.
also be a revenue generator for Beartooth Industries, because if they could then sell the gravel,
Yeah,
I mean, I think something like that, if we could find a grant to help,
Yeah.
like, we'd have to build the business case, but then find the grant to do it, I think that would be a huge opportunity, and if we could use that to somehow offset some of the salaries that we pay for those
Or, I mean,
people.
even just using that for city costs, we
Yeah.
can use it for city projects.
Yeah, parks department and all that.
Right, parks and like filling potholes, but I imagine,
I don't know, I don't know that it's as simple as
yeah.
crushing glass and you have gravel. I think you gotta think
we're just gonna get a
about
bunch of
it.
angry drunks in one room, like, we got this. Like, we'll figure it out.
I think that's a look at that. If it was,
But that is.
my guess is if it was really simple and easy,
Yeah.
More people would be doing it.
I don't know anybody that's doing it.
They do it in Livingston.
Livingston, I know that guy in Livingston pretty well.
They have a glass crusher
Oh, they do?
and use it in parks.
Interesting.
Walkways.
Some call.
Yeah,
They
that would be
recycle glass too,
interesting.
but like Bozeman doesn't recycle glass, I mean,
I know, we're like one of the only.
right,
Yeah.
right, which is really nice, but I can see it's expensive.
It's really nice, but it's expensive.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we've kind of talked about the carbon footprint on it as well.
Yeah.
Because that's getting
Driving all over the
shipped
place.
all over, and it's like, are we actually
Right.
really helping.
Right.
Well, if Republic took it over, how are we guaranteed that they're going to actually recycle and not just say they are, take them somewhere and dump them? Because it's too cost
They
effective.
have to have a facility that can sort it,
I'm
you know, if we're
I'm
just
pretty
doing
sure
one
if they're
container.
billing the heck out of us,
So they gotta have
they're not
something
gonna
that,
just dump it in landfill.
Yeah, it sounds
That
like
would-
a
That would
scandal.
get them into a big mess.
Because they're just getting that started in Billings now, right? They don't have it in Billings currently, but Republic is starting curbside recycling in Billings.
Are they?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
we
I
had it here.
heard it.
They
Yeah.
had it in Billings, and then they
Yeah.
stopped it because it had to be mandated, because again, to your point, you can't just onesie twosie it, everybody has to do it.
Oh, people were just, yeah.
And we had it here in Red Lodge,
Yeah.
but people were paying extra for that
Yeah.
extra
Oh,
can.
Yeah.
So would it be like an
So,
actual
like it or
can
not.
or a bin, like an open
Wasn't
space
everybody.
bin?
No, I think it'd be a
No.
can.
Okay.
And
Because that would
it
be my
wasn't,
only
it
other
wasn't
concern.
sorted, it was everything in one, right? Glass, cardboard,
Right.
So
plastic.
then you have, the facility has to be able to sort it.
Right.
But you don't want 6 garbage cans in front of every house either.
No.
They probably
Enough
there
in Salt Lake, we're kind of in that situation.
Would it be possible to get the guy from, Republic to come and just talk to us and find out what's available? Because like, they might do curbside, but it might just be, but then he's like, okay, we can do curbside and it's single sort for everything, or it's curbside, but it's just aluminum,
Right.
or whatever, because then we can
Right.
kind of weigh our options and
Right.
see, you know.
Mike and I are gonna be talking with him sometime sooner rather than later.
I end up talking
We
to
can-
him at least probably once a week or every other week, so
Yeah.
I can put a plug in his ear.
Yeah.
Let's see if he'll come to our next
Yeah.
meeting.
Well, he'll come.
I know he'll
Well,
come.
he will, but it'd be interesting to, just so you know, people scream when we put stuff on their bills.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're already doing a lot of that.
Yeah, and that would be a big
Yes.
one. That'd be a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. But, you know, like recyclable bags,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have to set the
Separate it.
stage.
Yep.
Set the stage. Okay, we'll see if we can get, Ryan at the next meeting and, start to hash out some of these things and, you know, just see.
At an upcoming meeting, we're not committing him to the next meeting, we'll find out how quickly we can get here.
Sure, upcoming meeting.
Deb's taking the minutes.
Meeting. Okay.
What I missed,
We are trying to get him to, Ryan from the
upcoming
Capulli to come to a future meeting.
okay,
It
Ryan?
may not be, the July meeting.
Okay.
And Mike Maples has taken that as an action item, and in true Mike Maples form, he may have you an answer in the next 3 minutes.
Attaboy.
All right.
Okay, next thing, review of continuing projects for the fiscal year. Sent out what people had kind of verbalized last time at our May meeting of, you know, things that they were just a little bit more passionate about,
The wish list.
a wish list. Are there any additions or corrections to that list?
Can you read it?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Okay.
I was interested in the drive-through at the recycling center, pursuing, attaining an electric car, at least one electric car, in the Red Lodge fleet, and composting food waste and trees and branches and grass and stuff like that, which we don't do. Mary Dale was interested in composting, the recyclable bag committee, and I can't read my writing here.
Can't remember either.
Oh, e-cars,
Oh.
electric cars, yeah, okay, so interested in that as well. Julie Hancock was interested in composting, food and yard waste, especially recycling center support, and the plastic bag, reusable bag, I shouldn't say plastic bag. Deb was interested in composting, boy, we've got, you know, a
Yep,
bunch of
yeah,
us on composting.
The green
And the
composting.
recycling drive-through, you know, kind of making sure, just following through with that project, making sure it doesn't fall through the cracks. Alan was interested in, as a matter of fact, a glass crusher, and seeing if we could get something like that locally, and possibly, an e-car for the, fleet. And Joy, you were new, is there anything here you feel passionate about
No,
yet, or you just
and all
wanna
those
wait
things
for
I
a
agree
little
with. The only thing I would maybe say is like, I think the drive-through thing at the recycling is a great idea, but do we wanna first find out if curbside is an option
Right.
before we start
Future.
going
Yeah.
down that path? Cause I
Yeah.
don't wanna redo work.
Well, I guess we're already getting solar out there, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
put solar on there,
So, I don't know,
theoretically.
maybe we're already going down the road.
One thing that was on your list, I think you had infrared heaters for the shop.
Oh, okay.
There, and we have a new shop building that hasn't got a heater in yet. I think we will try to price infrared instead of just a gas blower one.
Great, good.
And I'm gonna, when we do that, I'm gonna have them price, infrared for the big shop.
Okay.
Just 'cause it works better when we bring the frozen plows in.
Perfect.
So, we're looking into those things, and they were in your,
Oh, wonderful.
Energy conservation.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about the shop out there, but what's the other shop?
there's
There's two
just
shops out there?
Yeah, there's actually 1, 2, 3,
Okay,
4 buildings.
okay.
But
So you're talking about possibly in 2 buildings?
possibly,
Okay.
one for sure,
One for sure,
possibly 2, see how,
as budget
see
goes.
how the price comes
yeah.
up.
Okay, perfect, okay. Any additions or corrections to that one?
Could I add one thing?
Sure.
I would love to just kind of keep this on back of people's minds. The possibility of a microgrid, or at least a ton of solar out at the wastewater treatment plant, which consumes a ginormous amount of electricity, as we all know. Obviously something to look more into, but just to put the scale of this into perspective, you know, some of these Northwest Energy solar grants that we just got that are, I hope, going to be fantastic and very generous. Well, something appropriately sized for the wastewater treatment plant would be 50 times bigger, 50, by some rough estimates. So anyway, I would love to keep that sort of in the discussion. The Montana DEQ is expecting to hear back from the EPA on their big grant request in September-ish. So anyway, I would just add something like a microgrid, or at least a large solar array for some of the biggest consumers in Red Lodge. Could have massive and long-lasting financial benefits for the city.
Thank you. Yep. Perfect. Perfect.
See, Ryan said, hell yes, I'll be there, so there you go.
Hell yes, I'll be there, all right.
4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, all right, July 15th.
July 15th.
I like that, but it only is.
Like I said, in true Mike format, the gauntlet was thrown down and I saw him pick up his phone.
Yeah, well, you gotta get these things off your list, you know, they sit
It's
there.
easier to just do it.
Exactly, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
Okay, the last thing on our agenda is the public works budgeting for sustainability for projects. Well, that's bad wording, sorry. We did, vote last time to donate our $1,000 budget from 23, that's the kind of 22, 23,
Yeah.
to the, solar project out at the recycling center. I don't know if anybody told Lonnie that. I didn't. Did anybody?
Now,
Would you mind?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, and then you were gonna, see if you could dig up the other $700, Mike, somewhere. Thank you so much. And I'm wondering if, and I haven't heard if, the Sustainability Board, as the budget is coming into fruition here, I assume for the next fiscal year, if the Sustainability Board has another $1,000 for the coming fiscal year, or more?
Well, wasn't sort of a question whether we actually had that money or there was money in
Yeah.
public
So
works?
In the
that we
public
could
works
recommend?
budget, X amount for parks
Recommending.
projects, X amount for sustainability
That's
projects.
right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
and which one of those does that come out of?
Yeah.
Enterprise?
Well, I don't know.
But
I think we
Lorena,
just have to try to do things, and we either
I think we will start, our starting assumption is we'll try to match what we've done in the years past,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think part of it's gonna be too, just cleaner in terms of budgeting is like things that kind of fit in public works, like the infrared heaters
Like almost everything.
or the money for the solar panels as part of kind of, you know, that way we can, like for the heaters, we'll pull it out of probably every budget a little bit. Because it is water, sewer, that uses the shop.
Sure.
Right.
Recycling, the 700 is gonna have to come out of recycling budget,
Yeah,
which is, you know,
Already tight.
tight. So, 'cause, you know, we can't like, and the EV thing is a great example, is you can't
Right.
pull money out of a street budget
Right.
for a charger, I can't pull money out of sewer, and I have parks, sewer, water, streets.
So that would likely be more of a resort tax.
So,
I
well,
think.
well,
But
no, what it
no,
means
there's
is,
no
if it's a
budget, though.
sustainability thing
Oh, sure,
that's
right.
tied to streets, we could do it from streets, or if it's
Mm.
tied to,
Yeah,
so
you gotta
it
find where-
basically, it needs to come from the appropriate budget.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and, yeah, resort tax can backfill that budget, but it can't just come out of resort tax.
Yeah,
It has to go
I
into
hear
a
what you're
budget.
saying, yep.
So you said water, sewer, parks,
Parks.
and streets, okay. And
And
recycling is,
recycling's another budget.
yeah, so this, I guess ours would come out of,
For the solar panels, it would.
That's not for us to decide. That's for, you know, the.
But it's good to know, because
But
then that
it's
helps
like-
kind of create direction.
But I mean, you can't, like, for something that doesn't, something like the EV chargers don't fit into any of those budgets.
right.
So,
and
It's
unless
just-
it's Chamber of Commerce, yeah.
So it just makes it,
Or resort tax.
Well, I mean, that's one thing too, is part of the reason I asked when the EV chargers came up, if it had to be a city project, could it be something done through the chamber? Because they have that parking lot there. I imagine that that would be very attractive for guests if they're first coming in to see that. I mean, it's not the most convenient of locations, but it might be a good conversation to be having with the chamber versus with the city. Does that make sense?
Right.
Absolutely.
And, you know, they're all over the chargers we have because it's good for tourism. you know.
Exactly.
But I think our thought was, you know, we've got some on the north end of town, we wanted to put
Go
some
south,
on
yeah.
the south end of town, but, you know, just getting more, I think, wherever would be
Yeah.
a good thing.
It could be a Riverside Park, when the Rocky Fork goes down and a park goes up, it could have one south there, that'd be actually fabulous.
actually, we can't, that's gotta,
Oh,
we
right.
can't have anything permanent there, so.
We already have a name for that park?
I just call it,
Yes.
that's just what I call it, like, it makes
I
sense.
love that.
I'm hoping that it could just be an extension of Finn Park.
Where the house and
Uh-huh.
hopefully the Eagles.
I didn't mean to
nest.
accidentally name it just now.
We are not calling it the Eagles Nest Park. We are not doing that.
Unless there's an eagle's nest.
Well, that's true.
Well, if the Eagles Nest goes away,
If we
can just call it
get
Finn
Eagles
Park?
Nest and turn it into a park, I mean, we can call it whatever we want to, as long as it's a park and it's not the.
Okay, anything else, for our meeting?
Good
I was kind of
meeting.
gonna ask if we should meet in July, 'cause July is kind of goofy, but Alan will be here in July,
I will not.
and hopefully, Ryan will be here in July, and so I guess we're gonna meet in July. Is that okay?
I give you a 50-50 shot of getting me, I'm just gonna be honest.
I know I'll be gone.
I'm not sure if I'll be back,
I will
but
be
I
gone.
think I will.
See, July is tough.
July
We
15th
won't have a
is,
quorum.
We could tell Ryan it'll be August instead.
Yeah.
Do we wanna wait until August? I'm cool with that and skipping a month. Sorry, Alan.
The question is, do you have a quorum in July? If you have a quorum, do it. If you
Alan's
don't have a
here.
quorum,
Who else is here?
I would be here.
I'd be here.
That's it. So
1,
four.
2,
Alan, are you gonna
Four.
be here for, well, he would be here because he would be on Zoom otherwise, too.
so I'm only hearing 3 confirmed.
Yeah.
What would be the date in July?
15th to 15th.
Now, those of you who won't be here, you could be here remotely.
I actually, I don't leave it till the 16th, so I think I could be here on the
You think you could be here on the 15th?
I'm not sure when I'm gonna be back, but I probably will be if I let
Okay.
I will be there for sure.
You will?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
Well, that's good then. So then
well,
we need
we've
four.
got,
Yeah.
sounds like we have four. All right, we'll meet on the 15th of July. Thanks, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I moved.
Could I say one thing? I could get it wrapped up in 30 seconds?
Yes.
They already adjourned it.
We're still recording though.
Okay, Alan, jump in, Alan, you got 30 seconds.
Great, thanks. I would love to get the okay from the city to go ahead and prepare applications for 2 more Northwestern Energy grants. One of them would be to supply power, 100% of the power that's being consumed by EV chargers, and it would be located in that green strip of grass between the public restrooms and the Arts Guild to the south, and it would be a clear view of the chargers, and we could put up a little sign there that says, you know how there's a sign that says, this is what electric vehicles are, and here's a donation box. It's a nice, pretty educational sign. We could have one saying, this is what solar panels are, this funded by a generous grant from Northwestern Energy, yada, yada. And on that note, looking back at the city's webpage on the EV charger, it does say actually that the original plan was to eventually have solar power supplying the electricity consumed by the EV chargers. That'd be number one. Number 2 location would be, I was looking at the electricity consumption, as Lions Park consumes enough that they could probably have their own ground mount as well. I could give you these numbers, but November 1 is the deadline, and I would love to keep that in mind, and maybe if we could do some research, I'd love to talk to Mike on the availability of that little strip of grass and maybe something on the west side of Lions Park, but I'd love to keep those possible applications in people's minds as we go forward. Thank you.
So that was a long 30 seconds, but, so when you say the city, and I'll put that in quotes, the city and those decisions is the council, which is the legislative body. So what you would need to do is get a request or comment, and Chelsea's here, so she can take that back, but generally, there would be a version of what that resolution that looks like. It would be a resolution that says, we support pursuing this grant, and then they would have that to look at one meeting, and then they could approve it at the next meeting. So that's, when you say the city, that's not me, that's the legislative body, and you need to give them the cycles to do that.
Let's have Chelsea and Alan work together on creating that resolution.
Yeah, so Alan, what I was gonna say is I'd be happy to present that at the next meeting, but if you could just put together a synopsis of basically that 30 seconds, and then we'll come up with questions for you at the Public Works meeting, and then we can come back and get some of those answers. Sounds like we have a little bit of time, not a ton of time, but this is at least, I think that's the best way to start it. It's just like, we would like to pursue this. What questions do we have? And then we can bring that back to you, and we can just get those answered ahead of time before presenting it to the full council and having like a really thorough, detailed layout. Like, yes, we own this land. This is what this would look like. This is how much it would cost the city. That's gonna be the number one concern always, is how much it's going to cost the city. If it's 100% granted by Northwestern, fabulous. If it's something that we're gonna have to budget for, that's something that, again, we'll wanna know where that's coming from, so.
That would be great.
That's
Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you.
And we're adjourned.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Right.
Did Dave stick to his drum?
With the little, where the.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.